This is how I created a racing technique concept that helped thousands of students transform their driving to a much higher level and solve a big confusion in driving technique. This concept was not available anywhere else, and I felt I needed to put a name to it to speed up the understanding of every corner in motorsports. It's called the maximum rotation point, or MRP, and here's why I did it. There's a huge problem and confusion around the concept of apex. Some coaches in real life say that the apex is the inside of the corner, the physical limit. Other coaches say that the apex is when you, with the car, reach peak turning angle and start accelerating. But when you get into a double apex situation where your car apex is in between the two physical apexes, things start getting confusing because we're just not using the terms in a very smart and clear way. And this is why I decided to create the maximum rotation point. By creating a separation between the maximum rotation point and the physical apexes of a corner, I simplified my own coaching techniques to help my students solve this confusion, and I ended up becoming a better driver myself. The reason this concept can revolutionize your driving technique is because we can combine many other techniques into one single thought process that makes you understand where to place your minimum speed in the corner, where to reach peak rotation in the corner, what to do with the steering before and after that point, and what to do with your line before and after that point. And also how deep into the corner you are and where to accelerate, especially in long corners where you easily get lost. All this can be solved if you deeply understand the maximum rotation point. The biggest benefit of the MRP is that it helps you structure the corner in a much simpler way that allows you to learn a track 10 times faster. Now, here's the physics behind it. It all starts with a very simple idea. On entry, if your speed is going down, your car is capable of rotating more. And because we are aiming to always be on the limit to drive as fast as you can, then that means that we should gain more rotation if the speed is going down. Otherwise, we're just under the limit. Hold this thought. On exit, if your speed is going up, your car is less and less capable of rotating. So if we just continue asking for the same amount of rotation with the speed going up, we either lose the car or understeer off track. So if you think the ideal racing line is a fixed radius arc that hits the limits of the track, you're wrong. Instead of a circle, the racing line will actually look more like this, like an ellipse, where on entry, as speeds go down, the car is capable of rotating more and more and more, creating a closing spiral until we start accelerating, where we will then start creating an opening spiral all the way until the exit of the corner. Then we continue the thought process. If we're closing down on a spiral until we accelerate, and inertia dictates that we do an opening spiral as the car gains speed, that means that for every corner, there must be one place where we reach this peak rotation. And that's the maximum rotation point, which also happens to be the minimum speed point of the corner. The implications of this simple thought process can be immense, because if you follow this rule right, you will find 1,000 mistakes in your driving immediately. Now, here's how this can actually practically help you. What I'm gonna tell you right now is what you will improve in your driving if you think properly of your maximum rotation points as soon as you start learning a new car track combo. Consistency. Everyone has that friend who keeps saying, I'm fast, but I'm not consistent. It's most likely because they don't have a structured approach to racing, and their references are all over the place. They don't know exactly how to replicate a good corner all the time. Let me start by saying this. If you're not consistent, you'll never be really fast. Being fast means being incredibly precise with your references, with your lines, with your throttle application. So to reach perfection, you have to approach it very slowly, each lap being more and more precise than the previous one, which means you will only really reach a truly fast lap after being close to doing a truly fast lap many times. Which is why, to be a fast driver, you also have to be a consistent driver. Whenever you hear someone saying, I'm fast but not consistent, they're probably not fast. So the first thing that happens when you determine your MRP in a corner is that you can plan your lines in a much more efficient way. because you know that you will only want to accelerate at that point. And if you brake too early, you will feel the need to accelerate and fix your speeds, which helps you quickly judge that that braking reference was bad, and you can adjust it more quickly on the next laps. The same thing happens on exit. Depending on your MRP, you accelerate out of the corner and see what happens with the car. If the exit is too easy, meaning the car can exit without using all the track, then you can quickly judge your mid-corner line and speed and adjust it more quickly on the next laps. This helps you set up a clear plan for each corner, which means more predictability, more repeatable references, and your lap times become way more consistent. Now, the second way having an MRP is going to help you is actual speed, lap times. If you have clear references and you are consistent, you have all the ingredients to do fast lap times. Let me tell you that speed is not necessarily fast reaction times or a lot of effort. It's simply efficiency. It's using as much as you can use out of the tire's grip without wasting anything. That does not mean absurdly chaotic driving and fast inputs. That just means efficiency. When you have a clear way to structure your corner with a maximum rotation point and a nice braking reference, you can reach efficiency with a lot less effort than you imagine. And that's the thing that most people don't know. A fast lap, when you know how to do it, is actually easy. Because if you know exactly what you're going to do, you spend less energy in your brain. You just follow the plan. And all that, having an MRP, having a plan, makes you spend the least time possible in that corner, which means better lap times and easier, right? Like, it's counterintuitive, but yes, a driver who is beginning will spend a lot more energy, will be more stressed, will be like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. And because they're trying to figure out what to do to find speed, they're actually spending a lot more effort and being a lot more, not necessarily focused, but just trying to figure it out and getting tired more easily and everything. Whereas a driver that knows what to do can just do it, and it's easier for them. Theoretically, it's that simple. Of course, it takes time to develop the precision to reach that. But the more you practice in the right way, contrary to what most people would think, it actually gets easier to reach perfection in better lap times. Another way structuring your corners with MRPs will help is making you crash less and drive more safely, especially in real life. Prevention of big mistakes and crashes are one of the big benefits of understanding your maximum rotation points. If you understand the spiraling down and spiraling up behaviors of the car under deceleration and acceleration, you don't force the car to do what it's not capable of doing. And the biggest reason drivers crash is because they place themselves in an unsolvable situation where the car will not respond to their inputs in the way they want. Remember, the car doesn't care about what you want it to do, it just follows the laws of physics. Mastery of oversteery cars. The most satisfying benefit of understanding your maximum rotation points is that by understanding the behavior of the car on the limit as a whole platform, you end up also understanding how to deal with oversteery cars. This is because you generally lose the rear whenever you ask the car to do something the whole platform would not be capable of doing anyways. I'm gonna say it again. By understanding the spiraling down and spiraling up nature of the car because of inertia, you end up knowing the natural lines the car will want to take on the limit, and the amounts of oversteer that you will get will be much smaller and more predictable. And you will also know what places are more or less prone to oversteer in each corner. The car does not care about what you want it to do. It just follows the laws of physics. If you understand the direction the car should take as a whole platform, you will be able to induce much smaller amounts of oversteer and understeer and stay on the limit for longer. What I'm about to say is very, very, very important. The maximum rotation point is a reference from which we deduct the lines of a race car before and after it. It will not be as useful if you just think of it as a single point that is disconnected from everything. It's more like a vector, an arrow that is not only setting somewhere, but it's also pointing somewhere. And here's why. First, let's identify the maximum rotation point. If you see in this graph, there is this dot, this blue square. It's gonna be where the maximum rotation point is placed. So for example, for an early apex, we're touching the inside right here. So the MRP pretty much matches the middle of the corner. For our late apex, we bring the MRP a little bit backwards. So now we start accelerating here, even though we're touching the corner here a little bit later. So as you can see, if I move the MRP way down to make an aggressive late apex to prepare for a qualifying lap, I reach my maximum rotation point here, but I hit the apex at a later phase. The opposite would be, say, a neutral early apex where you turn too early, you hit the inside too early, so early apex, but you can't really accelerate because there's still a lot of rotation to be done on the exit, so you end up only accelerating way after the apex, which is generally not a very good idea in motorsports because we either want to accelerate here or here. This is more or less the area of the optimal racing lines that we take. So not only the positioning of the maximum rotation point, we can also change the angle of it. And look at the effects. If we say turn in a little bit earlier, you can see here how this area, if we turn super late, we have this effect where we do a lot of work on the first half of the corner and the second half is actually pretty straight. This is not ideal because we have to decelerate a lot to be able to produce this amount of rotation, and then we just don't have the speed to carry on the exit, and the exit becomes way too easy. The other possibility would be just having a lot of work done on the exit. If you change the angle like this, you can see that we end up not being on the limit, just braking diagonally on a straight line into the corner, and then by the time we reach the MRP, we have not done half of the rotation on entry, and we have to compensate that by rotating a lot on exit, which prevents us from accelerating, and we get a shit exit. So just by changing the angle, you can see how you can distribute the workload that is going to be done by the tires throughout the two halves of the corner. You see, the best baseline is always 50-50. That's where we start. And this is why the geometrical racing line makes sense when you're learning, because it will do 50% of the rotation of the corner at 50% of the duration of the corner, and the second 50% on the second 50% of the duration of the corner. Now, after that, we start realizing that the car is a little bit more efficient under deceleration, so we start moving the acceleration point backwards, and we start moving a little bit of the rotation more towards the entry. But this change is not gonna be too big. It's gonna be from 50-50 to 55% of the rotation done on entry and 45% of the rotation done on exit. And that's enough. Of course, if the car has not a lot of power, then you want to make this adjustment and do not so much of a late apex and try to carry as much momentum without scrubbing speed off. And if the car has a lot of power, then most likely you would do a more late apex approach so that you can deal with that power and get back on power early to carry a lot more speed towards the exit of this corner. So again, when you change the angle, you change the distribution of the workload of the tires between the entry and the exit. If you turn in too early, you're making this adjustment. By the time you reach the apex, your MRP is angled too far towards the outside of the exit, and you end up having to struggle to rotate the car on the exit and not carrying any speed. If you turn in too late, then you just transfer a lot of the workload towards the entry of the corner. You overslow the car, and then when you get back on power, you don't have a lot to do still, and you end up having those kind of straight lines. And you see, just by moving around the center point of the corner, we assume what's going to happen on entry, we assume what's going to happen on exit. And this is why the MRP concept is so important. Great, but how do we really apply all these concepts in practice while driving? Well, here's a few examples of how the maximum rotation points are placed in some different types of corners. For reference, let's start with the geometrical line. In this kind of corner, the maximum rotation point and the physical apex are generally the same place. This means your minimum speed matches the moment you hit the inside of the corner. But of course, this is not necessarily the fastest approach because race cars are much more effective in braking than in accelerating. So to compensate for this difference, we accelerate a little bit earlier to carry that extra speed throughout the exit, especially if there's a long straight after. Late apex. This one is very commonly confusing, so let's solve this problem right away. Late apex means early acceleration. Remember when I said that some coaches called the peak rotation of the car an apex? Well, that's a huge problem because if you call that an apex, but you're late apexing because you're hitting the inside of the corner late, are you accelerating early or late? We know we're accelerating early, but using the word apex for two very distinct things does not help any beginner understand these concepts and get better. On a late apex, the maximum rotation point happens before the apex. That means we will start accelerating and then we will hit the inside apex, then track all the way out on exit. Peak rotation early acceleration, more speed carried out of the corner. Double apex. And here's where the maximum rotation point really helps you. In double apex corners, we generally hit our minimum speed and therefore our maximum rotation in between the two physical apexes. This happens because of the elliptical nature of race cars when we are decelerating. Remember, closing spiral under braking, opening spiral on power. The intensity of this spiraling effect will depend on the downforce of the car, and I have a full video about that on my online course, the Motor Racing Checklist. There's a discount coupon in the description of this video. And you get your money back if you don't improve. Anyways, most people get lost in long corners, and it's one of the most common things, especially in double apex. Having a proper plan of when you will be reaching your minimum speed and maximum rotation kills this problem immediately. And it helps you structure the corner in a way that will bring both speed and consistency to double apexes. Here's a simple process to figure out where to place your maximum rotation points. Just get 50% of the corner's rotation or duration, and then move your maximum rotation point a little bit before that. This way, you have a baseline of the structure of the corner, and then you start polishing it depending on the specific characteristics of that corner, like camber, closing radius, opening radius, whether it leads into another corner or a longer straight, etc. Do you think this idea of maximum rotation point will help you? If it does, please subscribe and leave a short comment. I'm gonna leave you with a short ad about the Motor Racing Checklist, and I hope you have a great day. Sim racing is growing more and more, and it's bringing real-life racers and sim racers together. This is making the competition level rise like I've never seen it before. So if you want to become that competitive, the secret is in the driving technique more than equipment. My professional driving technique course, the Motor Racing Checklist, already has over 3,000 drivers, including real-life drivers and professional esport drivers, just so you know how good it is. I made this course after coaching over 2,000 drivers in one-to-one live sessions, and it contains all the advanced concepts, techniques, and exercises that I've developed with my students over all these years of coaching. It's perfect for any simulator, racing games, and also for real-life drivers wanting to use a simulator to improve their real-life driving technique. This course is about car handling skills, and the goal is to make you find better lap times and consistency. You will learn how to prevent and induce specific behaviors and learn how to feel them earlier so you can predict what's happening with the car with professional precision. By the way, this course has a money-back guarantee with no questions asked. So if you don't improve, you get your money back. And you can join my Discord to read reviews and ask any questions. Join the course now, and I will see you on track.